I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. Control, you don't know me. I'm a danger to myself.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. How are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are having a great week and a great day, and I hope you guys are all feeling happy and healthy, and the fall illnesses have not creeped into your home, because I believe they've just crept into mine. Hopefully you guys are not where I'm at with this, because I cannot stand sick children, because what happens when you have sick children? You get sick. Okay, this case is going to be a rough one. I'll just put it that way. Trigger warning. Just letting you guys know, this case is pretty brutal. We're gonna jump right into it, but first I want to welcome anyone new here. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. I hope that you find something that you enjoy, something educational. If you're already familiar with this case, if you are not familiar with this case, you feel that you got everything you need to know from this video. If that's the case, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you want more content delivered straight to your feed, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. You'll be notified every single time I upload a video. Thank you so much to my current subscribers. You guys mean everything to me. You guys are the reason that I continue to do these videos, and I am so grateful to have you guys in my life. So Taylor Parker, Taylor Parker Morton, Taylor Morton Parker, Taylor Parker Griffin, Taylor Griffin, Taylor Parker. Yeah, the girl's got a few names that she goes by, but we're gonna call her Taylor Parker for this video because that is what the courts are calling her. So this is a very gruesome and tragic case. Honestly, I don't even know where to start with this story. Coming up with a script for this was a little difficult, because in knowing that I'm gonna have to say some of the things that I'm gonna have to say was a bit uncomfortable for me, but I think we can do this. So I'll ask you guys a question to start off. Could anything more tragic happen to a woman than what happened to Reagan Simmons? I don't think so. Of all the crazy and scary things in the world that women have to worry about on a daily basis, something like this should never be one of them. Imagine that after trying to expand your family, you find out you're pregnant. You're so happy, you're over the moon, you're planning the future for your family and that baby. Every pregnancy can be a little scary. As a woman and soon to be mother, we fear for our own health and our unborn baby's health. Some of us worry about every little thing. We're anxious the entire pregnancy, and some women are more relaxed during pregnancy, enjoying every new stage, accepting that everything will be just fine. But one thing that we hardly would ever expect, the one thing that we don't worry about in our long list of worries, is losing our child and our own life at someone else's hand, especially someone we trust. I wanted to start this case off with some absolutely shocking statistics. In all of my videos, I like to educate about something within the case. And you can feel free to fast forward through this straight to the case, but if you're interested in the statistics on this particular topic, here it is. The #1 leading cause of death for pregnant women in the United States is homicide. In 2019, heart disease and stroke was the cause of death in 1 in 3 pregnancies. Amniotic embolism, infections, severe bleeding, and unsafe termination were among the list of others, also including pre- and post-eclampsia and eclampsia. There's also the chance of hemorrhaging, etc. But the odds are that in 2022 in the United States, a woman is more likely to die from murder than any of these pregnancy-related complications combined. It almost doesn't even make sense, does it? Murder was certainly not on my list when I was pregnant with my kids. However, my youngest daughter, who was born in 2020, was the first time that I had ever actually been aware or concerned with my surroundings while being pregnant. I hadn't even heard about this case yet because it was actually going on at the exact same time that I was pregnant. It had finally made it into the media that pregnant women were in fact being targeted for their unborn babies. 1 month before my own daughter's due date, another pregnancy was cut short, as was a woman's life at the hands of another. In fact, women who are pregnant in the United States are twice as likely to die by homicide than by pregnancy-related causes. Twice as likely. 2/3 of these homicides occurred in the woman's home, suggesting a partner or someone who knew the woman was responsible. Also, shockingly, the United States has a higher rate of maternal fatalities than most other wealthy nations. Pregnant women are killed at a rate of 16% higher than non-pregnant women. Obviously, not all pregnant women are killed for their unborn babies. It has been long studied and known that IPV increases when a woman is pregnant, leading to many of these deaths. But in this case, we're going to be talking about fetal abduction as the motive. This is where a not yet born fetus is removed unwillingly from the mother, likely ending in the mother's death, and many times the baby as well. This is a cold, calculated, and planned attack from the very beginning. The first recorded instance of fetal abduction in the United States was in 1979, but the first recorded instance that got media attention and acknowledgement and coverage was in 1987 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where 19-year-old Darcy Pierce strangled 8-month pregnant Cindy Ray and then cut her baby out of her using a car key right outside of the OB office that Cindy had just come out of. The baby was named Millie, and she did survive. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children described some typical infant abductor traits, such as being of childbearing age, overweight, compulsive, manipulative, and deceptive. They went on to say she is usually of average or higher than average intelligence. Sometimes they grow up, most of the time they've had some sort of issues and trauma in their childhood, a bad childhood. Juvenile issues, chronic lying, aggression, risk-taking, promiscuity, drug use, and an early obsession with pregnancy. They may have also faked pregnancies throughout high school, as did Taylor Parker. It has also been determined that 26% of women were friends and 35% of women were acquaintances with the victim. Only 39% were strangers. That means that 61% of women who were murdered for their baby knew the person who did this to them, and they trusted this person. I have also covered cases in the past of people that actually took the life of their own children. Megan Boswell being the first person that comes to mind. And I'd like to do an update on the Megan Boswell case, but that's for another day. We basically have sick women taking the lives of their own children simply because they just don't want them anymore. And then on the other hand of things, we have women taking wanted children straight out of the womb of other women because they're unable to have their own child. The world is an effed up place, you guys, and it's getting more and more effed up by the day. Please be aware of your surroundings, especially if you are pregnant. Let's get into the case of Taylor Parker. On October 9th, 2020, at about 10:50 a.m., police responded to a 911 call from a residence for a deceased person. The call came from the victim's mother, Jessica Brooks. The victim, 21-year-old Reagan Simmons-Hancock. Her mother had called 911 and was screaming that someone had killed her baby. When police arrived at the residence, they were in no way ready for what they were about to see. There, on the living room floor, laid Reagan, face down in a pool of blood. A large amount of blood was noted throughout the house, on the floor, furniture, walls, appliances, and other items. Upon turning the young woman over, police noticed a large cut across her abdomen. It was then that they realized the young pregnant woman's baby had been cut out of her. The baby girl, who was due to be born in a few weeks, was missing. At about 9:30 a.m. that same morning, a Texas state trooper made a traffic stop in DeKalb, Texas, not far from the Oklahoma border. The trooper alleged that a woman was performing CPR on a newborn baby in her lap. The umbilical cord appeared to be coming from her pants. The woman, Taylor Parker, had told the trooper that she had delivered her baby on the side of the road. She told him that she was scheduled to have a C-section that morning, but she had gone into labor at a Walmart and ended up giving birth to her daughter right there in her car on the way to the hospital. So what's going on here? We have a lot to talk about with this case. We're not going to waste any more time, and we're going to start right at the beginning. Who is Taylor Parker? On her Facebook page, she described herself as a wildflower, wild, free, and wicked, with a glow that was never meant to be tamed. Also, on her Facebook page, she had a list of professional skills, and the list read medical assistant, office administration, and phlebotomy. According to public records, she had been married and divorced twice and had 2 children. Her son was from her first ex-husband, Tommy, and daughter was from another man who was not in the child's life. Her second marriage was to a man by the name of Hunter, and that marriage didn't last either, and in April of 2019, she and Hunter divorced. Just weeks after her divorce from Hunter was finalized, Taylor was at a rodeo, and here was where she met a man by the name Wade Griffin. They had only been dating a short while when Taylor told Wade that she was pregnant, but that she had lost the baby. This brought the two even closer, as Taylor was needing to lean on Wade for emotional support a lot to get her through this unfortunate loss. But while the two were growing closer, he was beginning to notice a few things about Taylor as she started opening up more about herself. Elaborate things. One thing that Taylor told Wade was that she was inheriting millions of dollars in oil and gas royalties. Another thing Taylor said that was quite shocking for Wade was that her mom, Shauna, whom she also called Fake Shauna, had put a hit out on Taylor and that she was afraid for her life. Wade, being the good guy that he was afraid for her, and so he allowed Taylor to move in with him for her safety. Things escalated even further when Taylor told Wade that Shauna was hacking into their phones and that the Mexican mafia was now involved and that there was even a shootout between the FBI and the Mexican mafia. Taylor explained to Wade that the FBI was keeping all of this under wraps, and that's why there was no media attention on this. Now, some of you, like me, are like, I would never have believed that. But Wade believed it. Wade worked for a hog business where he basically bought and sold hogs. As the relationship progressed, Taylor began to convince, or in my opinion, manipulate Wade to buy more and more things. He bought a side-by-side, a brand new truck, and he even bought some cows. But he didn't buy these things outright. He took out loans for them, with the promise from Taylor that she would be able to pay him back with all of her royalties from this oil and gas inheritance. Wade must have felt like he hit the jackpot with Taylor, a good-looking girl who really cared about him and his happiness and was an heiress to an oil and gas company. Wade's family loved Taylor as well. They thought that she was sweet and a great woman for Wade, but they soon noticed that among Taylor's outlandish stories were many red flags that began popping up. One of the biggest red flags was Taylor didn't have custody of her 2 children. The main reason that they questioned this is because Taylor seemed to be a great woman who really had her ish together, and judges and courts usually side with the mother when custody of children is involved. So why didn't she have custody of her children? At first, this wasn't anything that they really concentrated on, but it was the first of many red flags. Another red flag that popped up was that Taylor began to complain quite frequently that her grandfather's oil business money was not coming through, and she was having a very hard time getting access to the funds. They also noticed that Taylor was way more into Wade than he seemed to be into her. Taylor appeared to be moving very fast, and Wade didn't really seem to be in love with her. Taylor got Wade hyped up about a property. Wade was super excited about this property, and it was listed at $4.7 million. What really excited Wade and his family about this property was that it was listed as a phenomenal hunting property, and they were avid duck hunters. So Taylor reached out to the listing agent, Rusty Lowe, and told him she was the heir to the Blackburn syrup fortune, and therefore she could definitely afford this property. Okay, so are you guys keeping track? We have gas, oil, and now we have syrup. Okay? Got it. Taylor placed an offer for $3.5 million. The deal was made that Taylor would pay $200,000 up front as an earnest payment. Damn, that's a hefty earnest payment. I think the last earnest payment I paid for a home that I bought was $7,000. Taylor and Wade then told the family about this by sending out cards, and Taylor said on the card that none of them would ever have to worry again about finding a hunting lease. The family, of course, was ecstatic in hearing this. So it appears that not only was Taylor winning Wade over with her fortunes, but she was winning over everyone in Wade's family as well. Despite all the waving red flags, all of those were quickly bought away by this land purchase. But to no surprise to us, soon this dream come true began to quickly unravel. This contract Taylor signed went completely awry. First, when signing the contract, Taylor signed her name Taylor Parker Griffin, as in Wade Griffin, but they're not married. These were legal and binding documents, keep in mind. But this was just a minute piece of the entire facade puzzle that Taylor had constructed in this whole property deal. Initially, Taylor was supposed to have a $7 million wire transfer coming in from her Blackburn inheritance. And she was going to be using that money to verify the funds for the purchase of this $4.7 million property. But those funds never came in. So she said, okay, no problem. I'll just use some money from the oil and gas royalties that I have. Those royalties that she had been complaining about that she wasn't able to access. Yeah, that money. So not surprisingly, yet again, that money never came in. Even with this major property issue, Taylor had placed her deceptive little eyes on 2 more properties, totaling around $20 million for all 3. She had not even proven that she could afford the hunting property, and she's already negotiating for 2 more properties. So she tells Rusty the realtor that she has an Uncle Butch who would give her the money for the properties. So basically, oh well, on the wire transfers, my uncle's just going to give me $20 million so I can purchase all these properties. We're good. Yeah. Believe me, it'll happen. You guys, I could not stop myself from thinking and even saying out loud while I was researching all of this, what the hell did she think was going to happen here? Clearly, she has some pathological lying tendencies, but how did she think that this was ever going to play out in her favor? These are $1 million properties, and she thinks she's just gonna, weasel her way into them with no money and never have to pay a dime? Like, she went into these things knowing that they weren't going to work. I don't understand it. At this point, Rusty Lowe was obviously getting pretty suspicious of Taylor, and he began to have his team look more into Taylor Parker. Typically, people who go after these types of properties, these multi-million-dollar properties, they usually have all of their finances in order and they're ready to close the deal. Rusty's noticing many red flags at this point, and another thing that stuck out to Rusty, something that he noticed to be very strange about the situation, was that Wade Griffin was continually calling Rusty for status updates about the property, indicating to Rusty that Wade had zero idea about what was going on with this deal. Rusty wasn't even sure that Wade knew about the additional properties that Taylor was trying to purchase, all while using Wade's last name. Wade seemed to be unaware of the finance issues and of the transfers that were failing to come through. Yet by this time, Taylor had written 2 separate checks for $150,000 each, but after writing them and handing them over, she quickly asked for them right back. This, of course, was extremely concerning. Taylor finally provides Rusty with oil and gas paperwork, and Rusty has his land guy go over all this paperwork. But it didn't take long for Rusty's land guy to realize that these were falsified documents. Not only that, Rusty learned that the documents were obtained from Shell Western Global, of all places. The paperwork was a claim to verify the existence of wire fund transfers totaling $350 million. But the attached email address was for a lady by the name of Shelley Links. And this was a personal AOL email address. The same type of email address any one of us could have. AOL.com, right? It'd be like having a Gmail address or a Yahoo address. This made zero sense. for Rusty that a major business like Shell Western Global had an AOL email address? When Rusty attempted to email Shelley links, Taylor appeared to become extremely unpleasant, to say the least. Rusty then reaches out to Rich Uncle Butch. This is when Taylor completely flips her ish. She sent Rusty a text message saying, after talking to my dad and attorney, whom have both bought land for more than this, it was stated to me that the seller can ask, but you don't have the right to verify what we have in the bank. Wade and myself both weren't okay with that request. My Uncle Butch is a multi-million-dollar landowner, and he says he has asked and been denied. Okay, and very shortly after that text message, a return email from Shelley Links came in. Shocker. It stated, quote, banking information is completely confidential. The buyers were not under the assumption a verification letter was required until you requested it in your office. I'm sending this verification form since I will be the one providing the funds. Funds and where they come from is not of importance as long as the seller is paid, from my understanding. The clients are not okay with the seller calling their bank and our firm on their decision regarding this matter. Unquote. So in my opinion, this should have been the final red flag for Rusty to end this deal right away. But nevertheless, Rusty believed that this actually meant that the sale was progressing and was actually put more at ease by the email. He just figured that these clients wanted hyper discretion, and this, while not completely common, was not completely uncommon either. But everything was about to come to a screeching halt. It's now 2020. Taylor contacted Rusty and told him that the deal was dead. This meant for Rusty that after all of this time spent, that he had no chance of making his $1.5 million commission. Taylor said that her mom had actually lied to her about everything. There was no oil, there was no gas royalties, there was no syrup inheritance, and there was no Uncle Butch. Taylor also claimed that all of these people, including Shelley Links, were made up by her mother, fake Shauna. The irony of her calling her mother fake Shauna is screaming at me, because Shauna seems to be fake, as in not a bullshit artist fake, but like fake as in she doesn't exist. Anyway, you'll see. We're going to rewind right now to December of 2019, when everything has started to fall apart with these properties. Taylor had announced that she and Wade were expecting a child and that she was pregnant. Everyone was extremely excited about this pregnancy, including Wade, but things were beginning to look even more suspicious when Taylor bought Wade's mom, Connie, her dream car. A gray Nissan Altima Platinum that Connie had looked for a long time, never having any luck. Taylor's able to find this exact vehicle for Connie, and she buys it for her. But as is the case with Taylor, a few weeks later, Taylor called Wade and told him to have Connie come and drop the car off in the driveway. She explained to Wade that the car had a recall on it and that the dealership would be picking it up. Wade thought nothing of this. It strikes me that Wade is not, the brightest crayon in the box, because he really doesn't pick up on much. But this didn't sit right with Connie. She hesitantly drove the vehicle over to Taylor and Wade's home, telling her husband as she left that that's the last time they're going to be seeing this car. Like, say bye-bye to my car. We're not going to see this car again. And Connie's husband told her, you don't know that for sure. Connie insisted that she did know. Dealerships don't just come pick up cars on recalls. And I absolutely agree with Connie. It sounds to me like a repo. That's about the only time that a dealership is going to show up at your home with a tow truck and take a car from your driveway. It's when you're not paying for it. A couple weeks goes by, no news about the car. So Connie calls the dealership herself, and she asks about the recall on a Nissan Altima Platinum, and they told her that there is no recall on this vehicle. When she questions them more about what happened to her car, they explained to her that that vehicle was never paid for. Shocker, I know. Again, I just cannot figure out how Taylor thinks that what she is doing to win these people over by purchasing things that she cannot afford is going to make anything better. The money she says she has doesn't appear to even exist. So how is she ever supposed to make good on any of these promises? And how long does she expect anyone to continue to believe her? So while all this car stuff is unraveling, Taylor's making good on another soon-to-be failed promise of a new barn for Wade's dad, a replacement for a barn that he had lost in a fire. Obviously, that was not going to happen because Taylor had no money for anything. March of 2020, Taylor announced for the first time publicly she and Wade were expecting a baby. And this was just as the pandemic was reaching its peak. Taylor announced the due date of September 22nd, 2020. Taylor had to switch things up. She had to prepare for a baby. However, this pregnancy announcement threw up major red flags for one woman in Wade's family by the name of Angela Pate. Angela and Taylor had gotten close, and Taylor often vented to Angela about her and Wade's relationship and about being fearful that Wade would leave her. During one of these venting sessions, apparently, Taylor told Angela that she had a hysterectomy. Angela told Taylor that before telling Wade that she was pregnant, that she should take another pregnancy test because, you have a hysterectomy, the chances of getting pregnant are pretty much zero, considering the fact that you have no uterus. Taylor told Angela that she was indeed pregnant and that this pregnancy was intended by God and was a miracle. She was so excited, showing all her family and friends ultrasound photos and test results, and she even sent Angela a pregnancy confirmation letter in an email. One problem with that confirmation letter was that the nurse's signature was the same last name as the person who was claiming to be the patient. So basically, the way the letter was written, or at least the way Angela understood the letter, was that the nurse was the pregnant patient. Angela right away confronts Taylor with this, and Taylor, of course, got extremely defensive. She tells Angela that there was a mole in the doctor's office and that her mom had hired, and that they must have been the ones who altered that. But here's the thing. She sent that email. She didn't notice the names or anything. Taylor sent the email to Angela. The clinic didn't send the email to Angela. I'm sorry, you guys, but this girl would not have lasted 2 flippin' seconds lying to me. That's all I have to say. She is not a very good liar, and I don't understand how any of these people ever believed her. And that's just my opinion. So Angela knew that this was BS as well. And she also knew that she was dealing with someone who was very manipulative and a pathological liar. Therefore, she knew that she had to have proof to back up her claims. Boy, if I had $1 for every time I have been in that position. So previously, when Taylor told everyone about the alleged hit that her mom had on her, she started hanging out at Angela's house a lot. During that same time, she had told Angela that her mother had actually taken her own life, but that she didn't want to tell her grandparents. Shortly after that conversation, Taylor's mother was seen at a Christmas party, which of course confused everyone who had believed Taylor that her mother had passed away. So back to April of 2020. Taylor's pregnant, right? Angela receives this email from someone named Mandy Body, who is allegedly now Taylor's real mother. See, fake Shauna was really fake. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not Mandy Body should be AKA fake Mandy. In this email, Taylor's alleged mother says, now hold on to your hats, you guys. Quote, "Listen, you don't know nothing about Taylor. Don't try to be a mother figure to her. I've done an amazing job making her look bad. It took some time, accurately planning my every step of the way. She brought you to the bank and made herself look like she was lying to get a check cashed. I had already arranged everything. My helper knew she was coming with you because she called, making sure. You're wasting your time with her because that check was never good. Let her fail in life. Let her see what it's like to have nothing. I've worked it out perfectly. I have arranged this all so that there are no cracks, you see. Things won't add up, and she will look even more like a liar. I stole numbers to make it look like people were calling and doing things for her. It was never from them. This will not end well for her. No matter where she turns or what she said, there will always be a lie to fall back on her. See, I'm going to send her into a deep depression. She will probably try and take her own life, like she has tried before. But if not, then making Wade leave her will do the trick. See, he will have no choice but to leave her, because nothing will be true. I've made his family turn on them from pretending to be like a dealership that didn't get paid. Does it click now to you people? Just let her fall into a hole and not get out. She will go crazy thinking she did the right thing for a certain reason. But in reality, I make her think that way. She has a way of wanting to protect everyone. Well, that's what got her into this mess. If you want to be her mom, good luck. She has been the child we should have terminated from the beginning because she was the accident I didn't want. Maybe you will get the big picture. She is looking for someone to love her. When Wade leaves her because I've made her out to be a liar, she'll come running to you. Just watch. Nice website and Facebook. Maybe you can pop some sense into her because she has none. Well, that's a lot to unpack. I mean, I don't even, where do we start with that? It doesn't, what does it sound like to you? So Angela, reeling from this extremely odd and random email, is still doubting this pregnancy. So email aside, she wants to get to the bottom of this pregnancy. That's her main concern because of Wade. She takes Taylor to the pharmacy and she picks up a bunch of pregnancy tests. Most of these tests, not surprisingly, come back negative, but there was one test that came back questionable, and it left both of them pretty indecisive about whether it was positive or negative. Angela and Taylor decide to go to a clinic for a urine screen. Of course, this time they go to a completely different clinic because, you know, they don't want that hired mole in the other clinic to get a hold of these results and switch them. Remember, I told you guys this was April of 2020. This is when the pandemic is really hitting its peak. Conveniently for Taylor, that means that no one's allowed to go inside with her to these doctor visits for any reason. And I can attest to this because, like I said at the beginning, I was pregnant during the exact same time as she was. Anyway, Taylor goes into the clinic alone. Angela says that Taylor came out of the clinic with a weird look on her face, and she was holding a piece of paper that looked just like the other paper that she had confirming her pregnancy. This paper was completely unfolded and fresh looking, and Taylor had only gone in with her wallet. So this convinced Angela that Taylor was in fact pregnant. Maybe Taylor was lying about the hysterectomy to get sympathy. Wade's mother, Connie, however, was unconvinced. She was over Taylor and all of her lies. She was convinced that this was just another manipulation tactic to keep Wade with her because Connie knew that Wade wasn't in love with Taylor. He told her so. And at this point, Taylor can't keep Wade with these money tactics anymore. So now she's going to use one of the oldest tricks in the book that women do to trap a man. Taylor was stooping to the all-time low of faking a pregnancy to stay with Wade, and Connie was not going to allow it to happen. Connie and Wade were constantly arguing about this, to the point that Connie wanted to hire a private investigator to follow Taylor around and to look into Taylor's background to prove to her son that Taylor was a liar. To say there was constant friction is a gross understatement. And at one point, after Connie told Wade that she had texted Taylor's ex-husband, Tommy, the father of her son, to ask about finances and issues with Taylor, Wade hadn't spoken to Connie for 4 months. She did, however, attend Taylor and Wade's gender reveal party. She had another son who was also expecting a child, and she had gone to his gender reveal party the week before. So she's a mother trying to be fair and supportive of both sons, but also wanting to protect her son. It was announced at the gender reveal party that Taylor was having a little girl, and the name had been chosen. Taylor and Wade's daughter would be named Clancy Gale. Not long after the party, Wade went to Connie about all of the things that Taylor's mom was allegedly doing. He even told his mom that he thought Taylor's mom had cameras set up in their backyard because of emails that he was receiving that appeared to be coming from her mom, mentioned them sitting on the back porch drinking coffee that morning. These emails were from a shadow account of Mandy Body, the same account that was emailing Angela. So Connie was convinced Taylor's behind all of this. And Taylor happens to be over with Wade when he's talking about these things with his mom. Connie loudly says, quote, "I don't know who is behind all of this, but whoever it is pure evil." Unquote. And as she said this, she is looking directly into Taylor's direction. But of course, this doesn't faze Taylor in the slightest. She was pregnant. She was in a loving relationship finally, and she was determined to have her happily ever after with Wade. She was all over Facebook, posting her pregnancy photos, ultrasound photos, test results, urine screens, and seemed to not have one problem in the whole world. She was ordering baby items, and she even created a baby registry. But as per usual, when it comes to Taylor, things weren't adding up. Her due date, for example, she had posted now was September 28th, not September 22nd, as she had originally stated. I understand that this was a red flag for some people at this point, especially because she's now made a reputation for herself that she can't be trusted. She's a liar, and people were suspicious of the pregnancy to begin with. But it is not out of the norm to have a second ultrasound and realize that the due date was off by a week, sometimes two. So the difference between September 22nd and September 28th, to me, isn't a big jump as some people might think. Obviously, I've been pregnant more than a handful of times, and I have had a pregnancy or two have a due date changed. And not only that, none of my kids were actually born on their due date. So was I lying? I mean, they're all here, so. July 2nd, Taylor posted onto Facebook about medical appointments for her and the baby. She posted this: lots of appointments and lots of scans. And this made it appear like she may have been having some concerns or issues that required further looking into, which kind of triggered her family that maybe she was preparing to say that she lost the baby. But ultimately, things seemed to be okay. And in August, she and Wade had some maternity photos taken. But even in light of all of this proof, as in these photos, the growing belly, everything, people were still suspicious. And because Wade was unable to go to any appointments, he had only Taylor's word to go off of that has already been confirmed many times to be unreliable, and in many people's opinions, straight up bold-faced lies. Wade did try to call the clinic, but due to HIPAA, he was unable to get any information at all. And to be completely honest, that's exactly how it is. They're not married, and even if they were, without a power of attorney, he is not able to know anything. The law is on the patient's side with that. Wade, by this time, had made it clear to Taylor that he was not in love with her and that he was not really prepared for a baby, but he was excited and he was going to be a good father. So finally, September arrives and the baby is due this month. Surely things would get better with their relationship after their daughter arrived. Wade may even fall in love with Taylor, seeing what a wonderful mother she would be. Wade's family, on the other hand, instead of feeling excitement about the upcoming arrival, became naggingly more suspicious. They could not help feeling that at any moment they would hear news of a miscarriage. And of course, not because Taylor actually had a miscarriage, but because Taylor isn't pregnant and has to give it up sometime. The clock is ticking. She has a couple weeks left. When's the jig gonna be up? On September 2nd, Wade made a Facebook comment responding to someone and straight up said that no one believed Taylor was pregnant and that the two were faking it. It was no surprise that many people doubted this pregnancy. And while Taylor ignored it, Wade was getting pretty pissed off by it. He couldn't wait to prove everybody wrong. Somewhere around September 15th, Tommy, Taylor's ex, sent some text messages to Wade over multiple days, telling him about Taylor's previous hysterectomy and that she was using ultrasound photos from her previous pregnancy. He also told Wade that hospitals were on high alert, which I take to be a warning to Wade to tell Taylor that she better knock this shit off or she's going to be in some serious trouble. Tommy even went as far to screenshot the messages that he sent to Wade and send them to Taylor. Basically, in my opinion, his way of saying, Taylor, the jig is up, everyone knows you're full of shit, and you need to stop this. Taylor was enraged. Tommy was trying to ruin her life. He didn't want her to be happy. Here she was, pregnant, about to give birth, in a happy and healthy relationship, and her miserable ex-husband was trying to sabotage her, and she was not gonna let that happen. Taylor Parker was going to have her dream family once and for all, no matter what the cost. And this is where we're going to end part 1. I know it's a lot, and that's why we're doing it in parts as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you do not ever miss an upload. You're not going to want to miss part 2 on this one, you guys. We're going to get right down into the nitty-gritty, and I will get that up for you as soon as possible. Have a great day. Please stay happy, healthy, and that's it. Talk to you later.
Oh, you don't